Hey traders, Shane from GMT Futures FX. Welcome. I'm going to take you through the V2 Elite Cycle Trader strategy settings. So we're going to do a little bit of a walkthrough now and give you a bit more information about how to tweak the settings for the Cycle Trader. Okay traders, what you'll see here is I've got the Euro Yen Renko chart loaded up. It's a 0.05 brick chart, and I'll just quickly walk you through basically the concept of the Cycle Trader. So the idea behind the Cycle Trader is that the Cycle Trader comes into play or starts executing trades once we've lost the trend. So just a quick walkthrough again of the Trend Trader. The Trend Trader prints when we get a break of support or resistance, and it'll be reflected in either the white bricks, that'll show you a short trend, and then on the conversely, for a long trend setup, you will see we've got the cyan bricks, so that tells you that we've got a long setup, and you can see a nice trend up there as it goes onwards and upwards. But this area here is what we're after. We're after this cycle activity. Now, we don't want to be trading the Cycle Trader when obviously the trend's on, and the new settings have been built in to identify when we lose the trend, and then we should be taking the cycle trade. So it's a little bit more intuitive obviously, because once we lose the trend, then we're looking to take these cycle trade setups. So the way the Cycle Trader works is that we've got dynamic support and resistance. You can see here the green is support, the red is resistance. So that's dynamic support and resistance. So once we lose the trend, we then revert back to support resistance, and as soon as we lose a trend, we'll lose the color. So we go from white to green or red. So once that occurs, we're looking to take our first Cycle Trader setup. So as soon as we've lost the trend, we're looking for that first print of support or resistance. In this instance, it's resistance. And what we're doing is we're selling resistance and buying support. That's basically it. So the Cycle Trader buys support, sells resistance, and you can see it does a pretty good job there of just buying support, selling resistance. Now, if I go in and turn the strategy on, and we're going to do that now, so I'll work a stop, a couple of bricks or a couple of points, and with a Renko chart obviously it's bricks, so a couple of bricks above above resistance, and likewise a couple of bricks below support. Now I'm going to take you into the strategy now and just show you and turn the strategy on and show you how it looks on the chart. So let's go in and walk through the strategy. So if we go format strategy, now many of you, if you're if you have the Cycle Trader currently, you'll know that you've probably played around with the Cycle Trader and you've got your favorite settings. Now if you do load this new version of the Cycle Trader up onto your charts, it's important to remember that if this initial entry, original entry, is turned to true, then that will basically just go and load up on your chart, and it'll be exactly the same as loading your older version up. So it'll have all your settings in there, so there'll be no change. So the only way you'll get the new version or the new settings or the new kind of trading methodology for the Cycle Trader is if you convert that to false, and then basically it'll adopt this first and second entry concept, which I'm going to go through in a second. So so that's basically it. So the default will be true, but if you wanted to take the new trade setups, then you want to convert that to false, and then set up your first or second entry, whichever one you prefer. So let's go through and go through the actual settings on the Cycle Trader. If we select our original entry as false, then basically what will happen is no trend first entry or no trend second entry will be our two options. So if we select no trend first entry and we go OK, what will happen there is that as soon as the trend is over, which we have here, we've got a nice little sell there. You see price pushes down with the white candle. So on our system, once price breaks through support or resistance, and in this instance support, it starts to print these white bricks, I should say, not candles. And as soon as we lose the white bricks, we turn to green. That first setup there is basically our first trade we can take. Now, if we set that as in here and set the strategy as false and then true on the second, it'll take the second trade. So it'll take the second entry. It really comes down to whether you want the cycle trader to trigger initially on the first break of the trend, or you want to see a confirmation, a second support or resistance set up before you start getting into the cycle trader. So it's really good because it's dynamic in that it won't just take trades off support resistance, particularly if you're in a trend setup. It'll wait until you get that break of the trend and then intuitively start taking the buy off support and the sell off resistance. So you can see here we've got our support set up. It buys the first brick once that first dot prints, and we'll open that right up. So you see how it's a dot that prints on the support, that first entry there. It'll mark it in, take the buy, and then once our red dot prints and sets up on resistance, it'll basically exit out of the long trade and take the short automatically. And then once the buy set up, once the green dot support sets up, it'll basically take the buy setup, so it'll exit the short. So it'll be a stop and reverse, and then again a stop and reverse here on the sell, and then again a stop and reverse on the buy. So it basically runs that, and you can see it does a great job of picking the trades up. Eventually gets stopped out there, but this dynamic support resistance works beautifully, and you'll see when we go through the results here shortly. So that's basically the change to the cycle trader. If your original entry you set up as true, it's business as usual. It'll take your original settings. But if it's set up as false, then you've got this new dynamic support resistance, and it's just buying support, sell resistance, buy support, sell resistance. Now the stop strategy doesn't change. Obviously we've got our initial stop, which is set. I've got this set at 15 pips. We've got our trailing stop, which we use with the original entry, with the original cycle trader. And you've got the trailing stop, support resistance, which is the trail stop or the swing trail stop. So I'll go through those just for you here quickly. So let's do that. So if we were buying support and we were going with the original cycle trader strategy, we would buy support here, and it might be at the support level. We'd work our original or initial stop, and then we could potentially use this trailing stop, which is the green dots, and you can see there if you've got it set at 0, so if we go back to the trailing stop and we set that to 0, so TP, we set that at true. If that's on 0, then it'll take us out of the trade once the brick hits that dot. So if it's set at 0, it'll take us out of the trade once the brick hits that dot. Now if, for example, we've got a negative number, say -5, then it'll work at one brick below there. If it's +5, it'll work at plus or one brick above. Now, so that's the trailing stop. Now if you decide you want to use the support resistance stop, support resistance will appear when the next level of support, that will be the next level of support, which will be your stop. So your stop will work here, so it's the initial entry, there's the stop, moves up to there, then obviously price is running and our stop continues to move, because it only adjusts when you've got a long setup. It only adjusts on the support line, and it's conversely on a sell, it's the resistance. So there's the new stop there, and eventually that gets taken out. If you're working at a brick below, then that'll get knocked out around about there. So the support resistance stop definitely gives you a little bit more room in the trade. And then you've got the swing high, swing low. So if you're in a long setup, then you're looking for the swing low. Now you can pick whether it's a 3 brick swing, a 5 brick swing, an 8 brick swing. So let's assume we've got say a 4 brick swing. There's our first swing low, then we get another swing low up here, so price moves up, then we get another swing low there. So once the swing low is broken, then obviously that's going to knock us out of the trade, and you can see eventually our swing low, which is there, gets broken. If it was one brick below, we get knocked out there. So they're the three levels of stops, or the three styles of stops that we can run. And if we go back into the strategy, which we'll do now, you've also got the ability to, on the old strategy, you've got the ability to have a fixed target, so our targets can be. Now remember, if you're using the original strategy, to use any of the stop strategies, you just got to turn that to true. So we've got the trailing stop triggered to true here, but we can do, we can change that to support, resistance, or the swing. So with a profit target, we've got a fixed profit target we can elect to have, which should basically be, we're setting that to true and then the amount of pips. We can also run a max session target, so we can have a maximum number of wins. So if we wanted to change that to true, and then we decide, right, well, I'm happy to take 100 wins, but if I have 3 losses, I'm done. So you can have that circuit breaker, or alternatively, you might turn that off and then say, right, well, I'm going to actually have a dollar amount, so I'm happy to take as much money as I can get out of the strategy every day, but if I hit $400 as a max drawdown or loss, then I'm done for the session. So that's another option there. So we'll just change that back. And then of course we've got day of the week testing. Now remember, day of the week testing is important because there will be days, particularly on crude and other markets like that, where the system just doesn't run well. So your job as the system, your job in managing the system is to identify which days of the week are very good, which days are poor, and then obviously you want to filter those poor days out, but just continue to track the performance in case there is a turnaround there. But ideally you want to run with the most profitable days. Obviously volume spike, volume divergence aren't applicable for the currency market, but that pretty much is the walkthrough of the format strategy settings. So hopefully you found that useful. If you do want to get more information about the GMT V2 Elite, or you're currently not a member and you'd like to obviously you'd like to become a member, then send me an email, shane@gmtfutures.com, www.gmtfutures.com as well, and there's a lot of information up there on the systems. But thank you for your time, and look forward to catching you on the next video update. Cheers.